चक्षुः मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कण्ठ राधा कण्ठ नमोऽस्तुते जयतां सुरतो पङ्गोर्मामा मन्दर्मते गति मत्सर्वस्वपदं भोजो राधा मादनमोहनो दिव्याद्वृन्दरण्यकल्पद्रुमदः श्रीमद्रत्नगारसिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद् राधा शिलगोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमनोः स्मरामि श्रीमान् रसारसारम्भी वंशी वटततस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनिर्गोपी गोपीनाथश्रियेस्तु नः तप्तकाञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय श्री श्रीमद His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So Hare Krishna dear devotees, before we start today's Srimad Bhagavatam class, I would first like to take this opportunity to send my heartfelt condolences and prayers and warm wishes and deep empathy to all of the devotees there in Kenya. Many of you are directly initiated by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. I don't think we have met since Maharaj's departure in the holy Tirtha or Dham, in fact, of Haridwar. Haridwar means the gateway to Lord Hari. So, or Dehradun Haridwar, still Haridwar, the gateway to Lord Hari. I know from personal experience, well, whenever a Vaishnava leaves, it is a time of great loss and mourning because actually the thing which makes this Kali Yuga actually the most special time, especially after the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are actually the devotees, the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can say without a shadow of a doubt that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was an ardent, staunch follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's General Srila Prabhupada. And whenever a disciple loses the physical touch of the spiritual master, it is a devastating effect. Of course, we are taught that the Vani of the spiritual master is the eternal dimension by which we can be united with the spiritual master. And so far as we are following sincerely, deeply, passionately the instructions of the spiritual master, to that degree we are united with him. But actually, when I was with my own spiritual master in Hawaii, which was in the temple there, which Srila Prabhupada did many of his translations in Hawaii, we were discussing Srila Prabhupada's position and how future generations would be able to connect with Srila Prabhupada through his Vani. And I said, everyone has access to Srila Prabhupada. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, that is the Siddhanta. But still, there was a special sweetness of being in Srila Prabhupada's physical presence. So similarly for all the disciples, while of course your spiritual master will be with you to every step of the way to the degree you follow his instructions, there is still a sense of loss that his physical presence is no longer with you. But as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself displayed, the Vipralambha Bhav, that separation actually is even more potent than the Sambhog, the union. So in one sense, this separation from your spiritual master, let that fire burn in your heart. Let that fire fuel your desire to serve this great mission of Srila Prabhupada, to purify your lives, to help others to purify their lives. And let that deep desire to once again see your spiritual master fuel your journey back home to his lotus feet in the service of Srila Prabhupada. So I again send my heartfelt condolences, prayers, and best wishes to all of the wonderful disciples and followers and devotees who have been touched in some way by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And may you continue to grow, as you are already doing, from strength to strength in spreading Prabhupada's mission all across Kenya. So we will move on to the class now, but I'm sure you've had many glorifications. We could give hours actually talking of the Mahima of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and maybe on another occasion I'll share the few incidents that I had with Maharaj. But we will address the verses in hand. Mataji, would you like me to read the Sanskrit, or would any one of the participants like to read the...
Prabhuji, you read the Sanskrit and we can repeat after you, so we can understand the Ucharan as well.
Okay. So this is a tricky verse, so I hope my Ucharan is on point. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, verses 40 to 41. And this chapter is entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. So actually this meter, I was trying to get the chanda, the correct meter for this verse. I haven't been able to memorize it, but I will manipulate another meter and see how we progress with that. Vishnurnu virya gananam katamo rahatiha ya partivana pikavir vimane rajangshi jaskambhayasva rahasa kalata triprishtham yasmatri samya sadanat urukampayanam. Let me say that last line again. Yasmatri sangya sadanad uru kampayanam. So, translation. By His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanaravindan Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientist who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so. Because it is He only who in His form of Trivikram moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature. And all were moved. Reading now, verse, we can read the purport before we go on to, okay, let's read the purport now, and then we'll move on to the next verse. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charanarvindam Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. EJ. The highest scientific advancement of the material scientists is atomic energy. But the material scientist is not able to have an estimation of the particles of atoms contained in the whole universe. But even if one is able to count such atomic particles, or is able to roll up the sky like one's bedding, even then one is unable to estimate the extent of the prowess and the energy of the Supreme Lord. He is known as Trivikrama because once, in his incarnation of Vaman, he expanded his leg beyond the highest planetary system, Satyaloka, and reached the neutral state of the modes of nature called the covering of the material world. There are 7 layers of material coverings over the material sky, and the Lord could penetrate even those coverings. With his toe, he made a hole through which the water of the causal ocean filters into the material sky. And the current is known as the sacred Ganga, which purifies the planets of the 3 worlds. In other words, no one is equal to the transcendently powerful Vishnu. He is omnipotent, and no one is equal to or greater than him. Reading from verse 41. Nantang vidyamaham ami munyo grajaste maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye gayan gunan dhasa sanatana adidevaha sheshi tunapi shesho dunapi samavashyati nasya param. Translation: neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 faces. 1,000 faces means 1,000, one would assume. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The omnipotent personality of Godhead has 3 primary potencies, namely the internal, the external, and the marginal potencies, with unlimited expansion of these 3 energies. As such, the expansions of his potencies can never be calculated by anyone, because even the personality of God himself, as the incarnation of Shesha, cannot estimate the potencies, although he has been describing them continuously with his 1,000 faces. So, dear devotees, some very powerful shlokas, some very powerful purports, albeit short ones, and a very important chapter, actually. Very important, especially in the age of Kali. In fact, there is a pastime where, anyway, we don't need to digress onto that, but there is a pastime where a certain deva expands himself into many different so-called rishis and munis to avoid being vanquished. This deva is often getting himself into trouble, and I'll leave it to you as your homework to find out which deva this is. This is a pastime within the Srimad Bhagavatam. You can probably guess, those of you who know about a deva who's always getting himself into sticky situations, but I'll leave that for some homework for you. And actually, Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport that this shows the beginning of the upper sampradayas, the upper siddhanta, those things which appear to be spiritual, but actually are misleading as to who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and the bona fide methods of actually meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I feel chapters such as these, where this one is obviously entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions, by understanding these chapters, we get an insight into how to understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore how to understand those who are followers, genuine followers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who are dangerous people misrepresenting themselves. The most famous verse, which I'm sure many of you know from Bhagavad Gita, is Paritaranaya Satunam Vinashaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstarpanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. That the Lord is saying that he comes, Paritaranaya Satunam, to come on the request of the Satunam, Vinashaya Chaduskritam, to come to destroy the miscreants such as Kant and Ravan and innumerable, and also the innumerable anarthas and demons that we carry in our heart. Dharma samstarpanarthaya. He comes to re-establish dharma. Sambhavami yuge. And so I appear millennium after millennium. And while this is a wonderful verse, anyone can portray themselves as doing these things. We know that even when Krishna was on the planet, Pondraka dressed in Krishna's clothes. He carried the saranga bow of Lord Krishna. He had a fake Srivat and Kaustubha jewel on him. He wore a peacock feather in his hair. He even had a Sudarshan disc. And he had people who were convinced he was living with the king of Kashi. So clearly people were convinced that this Pondraka really was Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself. However, when this message was intimated to the members of the Yadu dynasty within Dwarka, it is said that their laughter filled the Rajya Sabha. They were laughing and laughing and laughing that someone had the audacity to say that they were Narayan and that Krishna actually wasn't Narayan. So we have to become a member of Krishna's family like the Yadus. We need to be with Krishna, understand Krishna and his incarnations to such an extent that when an imitator comes immediately, you're a Pondraka. We can see, no, this is not the Supreme Lord. This is just a cheap imitation. And this is, Vaishnavas by nature are not fault finders. Vaishnavas by nature are not there to discourage people. But you see, false prophets and false gods will lead to a false result. And often what happens is that people in their innocence or in their naivety will follow these false prophets. And when, as all will happen inevitably, those false deities and false gods show that they actually are full of the four defects, the followers of these people not only will lose their faith in the false deity, but quite frankly will probably lose faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Full stop. And that is why in our Guru Parampara, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was the Simha Guru. He was unswerving in terms of establishing very clearly who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. Srila Prabhupada would say, if somebody says they are God, you kick on their face. Have you ever heard of a guru telling you to kick on someone's face? He said, with boot, you kick on their face. And we will see that even the disciples of Srila Prabhupada were often very humble. They are very meek for themselves and they don't expect any respect. But if you say that you are the same as their Lord, or even worse, you say that you are above their Lord, then they will become like fire. For their worshipful Lord, they will become like fire. They will even go to hell, but they will kick on your face. Maybe physically, but certainly, philosophically. They will establish it beyond doubt that you know you are not the Lord. So I think chapters like this, verses like this, where we are talking about the potency, the power of Vishnu, of Narayan, and how he's able to transcend the material universe, and how his glories are so great that even Lord Shesha cannot exhaustively describe them, are very important for us to inculcate and elaborate on. So I think before we get into the actual verse, I'd like to give a an explanation that was given well, wasn't given to me, but was given by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And I'm sure there's a Shastric reference, but he gave a methodology by which one can understand who is a genuine incarnation of the Lord and who isn't. And it's a fourfold process. And these four methods will determine, yes, this is an incarnation. So number one, is that personality predicted in Shastra? Number two, the Supreme Lord always has markings on hands and feet. Specific markings. You will see the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. He has an elephant goad. He has a lotus. The lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. They have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have special markings on their hands and feet. Number three, they come with their associates. And number four, they perform activities that no one else can. Okay, so predicted in Shastra, markings on hands and feet, come with their associates, and perform activities which no one else can. So in terms of this fourth one of performing activities no one else can, there's a good way to be able to understand this fourth one, and that is the 3 O's. And one of them is given actually in the purport. Is it in the first purport or the second purport? I think it's the second purport. Yes, the second purport, where it's talked about the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So omnipotent, this is the first O. For those of you that don't know, omnipotent means all powerful. Potent means power. Omnipotent has all power. So if somebody claims, yes, I'm the supreme personality of Godhead, you say, okay, my car has run out of fuel. So omnipotent Lord, I'd like you to pick me and my car up and you walk me home. Okay. Not to speak of Govardhan Hill on the little finger of your left hand for 7 days. You just carry me home in the car. Can't do that. You're not God. Omnipotent, all power. And what to speak of that? In fact, the Lord is keeping all of these planetary systems in motion while he's asleep. So we won't even ask a feat like that. We won't ask over them. We just say, you carry me and my car back home. Can't do that. You're not God. Omnipotent. Number 2, omniscient. Second O, omniscient, means all-knowing, sentient. When you're sentient, it means you're aware, you know, science, sentient, omniscient. One who is all-knowing. So you claim to be all-knowing. That means Tri Kalagya, right? Past, present, and future, you should understand. So you go to that person. And mind you, it's not just good enough to be omnipotent. You have to be omnipotent and omniscient and omnipresent, okay? So you can't just be one of those things. You have to be all 3 of those things simultaneously. So number 2, omniscient. You say to them, what socks was I wearing on February 29th, 2013? And if they tell you green, you say, sorry, February 29th, 2013 wasn't a leap year, so you're clearly a cheater because there were only 28 days in February. Bang, done, finished. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. You have to be omnipresent. So you say, Bhagwan, you please give class in Eldoret. You give morning class in Eldoret, Nairobi, and Mombasa. Morning class, same day, same time. Do it. And when they say they can't do that, when they say they don't know your songs, when they say they can't carry your car, you know, this person, he may be a very lovely person, personally, but he is not the supreme personality of Godhead, and we reject him as such. And we encourage everyone else to ask those same questions and reject him as such. So now we understand the fourfold process, okay? Predicted in Shastra, markings and hands and feet, comes with his associates, and he performs activities that no one else can. Then what do? We understand that there are actually different classifications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are different classifications. In fact, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, he's mentioned 2 things, well, many things, but 2 things which spring to mind. In the first canto, first chapter, 17th verse, Srila Prabhupada has said that actually the Lord has unlimited classifications, not even incarnations, but unlimited groupings that he can come in. And Srila Prabhupada also elaborates, I think it's in the 6th canto, he says that just as there are waves in the ocean, right? You go to any beach. We have Hitesh Prabhu who is here, and there are many beaches in Mauritius. You go to even one of those beaches and you stand there for a day. How many waves do you think just hit that one beach? What to speak of all the beaches in Mauritius? What to speak of all the beaches in the world? What to speak of all time? How many waves have there been? So as many waves as there have been, that is how many classifications of the Lord there are. And if there are that many classifications, how many incarnations must there be? And in fact, I've read, I couldn't find the reference, but I've definitely read in Bhagavatam that the Lord, Srila Prabhupada actually says there have been, even at any given moment, the Lord is present in so many different forms. That may be so, but he has important forms and the most important groupings as given by Krishna Das Kaviraj in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he references heavily from the Srimad Bhagavatam, are 8 classifications. So I'll go through them, and people may know them, but we can recap these different classifications and we can see why they are important. So the 8 classifications we're going to speak of are Purusha Avatar, Leela Avatar, Guna Avatar, Shakti Avesh Avatar, Manvantar, right? Yuga Avatar, even I'm forgetting now, Anksa Avatar, and then Shakshadhari, Swayam Bhagavan himself, right? So we'll go through, and I've tried to put it in an order where you can see how these different avatars actually interconnect and are important. So the Purusha avatar, I think it's actually in the beginning of the 2nd canto, there is a description of Mahavishnu, Garbhodhakshayi Vishnu, and Shirodhakshayi Vishnu. From Mahavishnu, unlimited universes are created. In each universe, Garbhodhakshayi Vishnu is there. Garb means womb. From the garb of Vishnu, a lotus comes. That becomes Meru. That Meru becomes the fulcrum around which the whole universe turns. He is the support for the whole universe. And then within each atom of that universe is Shirodhakshayi Vishnu. And Shirodhakshayi Vishnu is also present in a place called Shweta-dweep. So whenever you've seen the Krishna or Vishnu serials means the TV serials, and you see them going to the milk ocean and praying, that is Shirodhakshayi Vishnu, Kshir Sagar. Kshir means milk in Sanskrit. So he's lying on the milk ocean, Shweta-dweep, the white planet within this universe. So these expansions, however, Vishnu, many people don't actually, but what is the difference in Vishnu and Narayan? They're both with Lakshmi. What is the difference between Vishnu and Narayan? Vishnu is Narayan when he is operating within the material world. And Narayan within Vaikuntha is Narayan. In one sense, there is no difference, but this is why understanding the Purusha Avatar Tattva is important, so we can locate and understand the differences between these different terminologies. So actually, you will see in the map of creation, and I would recommend that everyone, there is it's bigger than A3, maybe even A2. And I think it was produced by BBT or maybe by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, but they show the whole cosmic creation. And at the top, you see Krishna. Krishna's first expansions is Balaram, and his energy is Srimati Radharani. So from Balaram, that's the Samvit, but we won't get into those terms now because that's another class, but that is one expansion. From Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha or Chaturvyom. Maybe it's Chaturvyom. First quadruple expansion. So from Krishna comes Balaram. From Balaram comes Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, Vasudeva. And then again, from that Sankarshan, there is another Chaturvyom, right? Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, and Sankarshan. And from that Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu. From that Mahavishnu comes all the Garbhodhakshayi Vishnus. From that Garbhodhakshayi Vishnu comes Sirodhakshayi Vishnu. So we've got effectively a parampara. The Purusha avatar is going back to the Adi Purusha, who we know is Krishna. So when Narayan wants to enter into the material world as one of his, we'll go on to the next topic now, which is Leela avatar. When he wants to go as one of the Das avatars, let's say. So the Das avatars, we have Matsya, the fish incarnation. We have Kurma, the tortoise incarnation. We have so many. He will enter into the universe through this Purusha avatar circuit, through Sirodakshai Vishnu, and Sirodakshai Vishnu will expand to allow the Lord into a particular material universe. Okay, so that is the connection between the Purusha avatars and then the Leela avatars. Leela avatar means one who is performing a particular pastime. We know that there are 10 Das avatar who are performing these particular pastimes. Jayadev Goswami, he wrote famously the Das Avatar Stotram, and our prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, many people may or may not know, are actually from this Das Avatar Stotram. Tavakara Kamala Varenaka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipur Tanu Bringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So similarly, he glorifies all 10 of the Dasavatar in this Dasavatar Stotram. And so these Leelas are very important. They're very instructive. And Sirodakshai Vishnu is the conduit through which they enter into this material world. But and the reason why many people mistake Krishna as an avatar of Vishnu is because they do not understand. Generally, you see, Vishnu is the conduit for the Lord to appear from Vaikuntha into this universe. But the truth does not apply when Ishvara Paramam Krishna, Yashodanandan Krishna, appears into this material world. Because he is the Lord of everything. He does not need to come to this Purusha. So we should understand that Krishna, who is the lover of the gopis, only appears once in a day of Brahma. Once in a day of Brahma. So I don't know whether people are familiar with the concept of time or manvantars, but we have 4 yugas, right? Everybody knows we have 4 yugas. We have Satya Yuga, we have Treta Yuga, we have Dwarpa Yuga, we have Kali Yuga. The sum total of those 4 yugas, also known as a Chatra Yuga, is 4,320,000 years. That's one Chatra Yuga. In 12 hours of Brahma, there are how many of those yugas? Do we know? There are 1,000. In 12 hours of Brahma. That means 12 hours, Brahma sleeps for 12 hours and he is awake for 12 hours. When Brahma is asleep, there is a partial pralaya and the universe is partially destroyed. And then when he wakes, it is recreated. So generally the Lord appears in the 12 hours that Brahma is awake. So 4,320,000,000 years is 12 hours of Brahma. And in each of those Chatra Yuga, Krishna descends. So 1,000 times. 999 times when Krishna descends, it is not Krishna from Vrindavan. It is Krishna Dwarkadish. So the pastimes, Krishna's most intimate pastimes of Krishna with the gopis only actually happened once in 4,320,000,000 years. Only once. The other 999 times, Dwarkadish is coming. And you don't see Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan. And you know what else? Out of those 1,000 Chatra Yugas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only appears once. And the other 999 times, it is a partial expansion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this will now lead me on to the Manvantar. Okay, what I'll quickly okay, we're already there, so I'll go to the other two afterwards. So Manvantar. So I'm not gonna. I can see that sometimes when people maybe they're hearing this for the first time, it can be a lot to take in. Please Google Manvantar. Please Google a day of Lord Brahma. These concepts are very important for devotees to understand, and actually you will start to realize how intricate the Vedic understanding of time, of eternity is, and your faith in what you are reading and how profound it is will just grow infinitely. I mean, even when you go into the concept of time, we have the concept of millisecond here, which is 1,000th of a second. The Vedas deal in 1,000th of 1,000th of a second. They even have terminology for. So it's a very precise and complete science. So Manvanta, has everybody heard of Manu? So Manu, the Manu, there's 1,000, we've talked about the 12 hours of Brahma. We've talked of the 12 hours of Brahma corresponding to 1,000 Chaturyugas. Now, these 1,000 Chaturyugas, if Brahma is considered the CEO of the universe, his general manager or his deputy, his foreman is Manu. So there are 14 Manus who take care of this 1,000 Chaturyugas. Does that make sense? So he's got 1,000 Chaturyugas which are on the go, and there are 14 who will come on a shift basis. So 1,000 divided by 14 is 71. So after 71 Chaturyugas, the first one is Swayambhu Manu, or Swayambhuva Manu, Swayambhu Manu. He will take care of the first 71. Then from 72 to 142 is Swarochisha Manu. And then from 142 onto 210 is Uttama Manu. Then it's Tapasa Manu. Then it's Revata Manu. Then it's Chakshusha Manu. And now the current Manu, we're on to the 7th Manu, which is Vaivashvata Manu, right? Vaivashvata Manu. He is the 7th out of 14 Manus. So we are, of his 71 Chaturyugas that he is overseeing, right? Of the 71 Chaturyugas that he is overseeing, we are now into the 28th. So the 28th Chaturyuga of the 7th Manu is always when Krishna himself, the lover of the gopis, Gopi Janavallabh, descends onto this planet. And he reveals his most confidential pastimes. Usually people have Dwarkadish, where Krishna is a king, and there's still some awe and reverence. But when Krishna, on the 28th Chaturyuga of Vaivashvata Manu, Krishna himself appears. And merely 4,500 years after that, Krishna as his topmost devotee appears and gives us the instruction of how to enter into those pastimes. So let it be known, there is only this little window within this 4,320,000,000 years, only this little window in the 28th Chaturyuga of the 7th Manu, known as Vaivashvata Manu, is Krishna as his Vrindavan pastimes, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from Srimati Radharani, the Empress, the topmost devotee, who can give access to those pastimes, available. So we should realize that this is such a precious gift. In fact, elsewhere in the Vedas, it's described that to be born after not only Krishna as Gopi Janavallabh, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Adi Bhakta of the Supreme Lord, but also after Srila Prabhupada, who has taken this and given it to the least qualified residents of Kali Yuga. To be born after this point is a fortune like winning the lottery every day or everything every week for the rest of your life. It is a fortune which far exceeds that. It's even given a description in the Vedic literature is given that imagine there is an island in the middle of the ocean, a lone island, small sandbank, and it has one tree, only one tree. And a storm happens to hit that tiny little island. And then it knocks that tree over and it starts floating into the ocean. And by the waves of some crazy coincidence, those branches of that tree make a circle, floating, a perfect circle floating in the middle of the ocean. How unlikely is that? Floating in the ocean. And in the middle of that vast ocean, a turtle is swimming. and it happens to come up and take a breath. And at the exact point it takes a breath, it puts its head up in the middle of that circle of branches. I mean, what an unlikely chain of events to happen. As unlikely as that is, 1,000, unlimitedly more unlikely it is that somebody will be born after Krishna from Vrindavan has appeared, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared, after Srila Prabhupada has appeared, and has somehow come in contact with it. It is a rarest of all rare phenomenon. So we should be very, very conscious of the great fortune. You know, some of us are initiated into this process, which has been given by Srimati Radharani herself. We have been initiated. How great is our fortune, and how important it is that we recognize that fortune and fully capitalize on that fortune. So these are the importances, as we can see. We've talked about Purusha Avatar, Leela Avatar, Manvantar. We'll quickly skip to the other ones, Guna Avatar. So there are 3 modes of material nature. There is Sattvagun, there is Rajagun, and there is Tamagun. Tamagun means ignorance. Lord Shiva is the Guna avatar of ignorance. Lord Shiva is not in ignorance, but he deals with those who are in ignorance and elevates them to a higher level. Lord Brahma, he's the Guna avatar of Rajagun. Rajagun means passion. It is passion to do things, passion to act, passion to create. So again, Brahma, his body doesn't even have gunas. He is pure intelligence, but he presides over those creatures that are in the mode of doing activity within this material world. So Tamagun, destruction, Lord Shiva presides over. Rajagun, passion, Lord Brahma presides over. But maintenance, anyone who knows, it is easy to break a house. It is difficult to build a house, but to maintain a house, that is the most difficult thing. There's effort, there's work, there's repairs, there's cleaning, there's constant application. And that, the most difficult is mode of goodness. The maintenance is mode of goodness because it requires consistency and dedication. And Lord Vishnu is the Guna avatar of that particular guna. He is the presiding deity of that guna. That's not to say that Brahma is a incarnation of the Lord, but he is given the power to preside over it. So that brings us to the next avatar, which is Shakti Avesh avatar. So Shakti Avesh avatar are those who are empowered by the Lord. So the 2 most famous examples are Parashuram. Parashuram, who destroyed all the Kshatras on the planets 21 times. He is not Narayan, but he was given a special empowerment by Narayan to fulfill this function. Brahma, in some capacities, is given special empowerment. So he's almost like an avatar, right? Shakti Avesh. Some people say Buddha is also not a direct expansion of Narayan, but he performed a particular function, ultimately, which led to the re-establishment of the Vedic principles. So Shakti Avesh. So we've got Purusha avatar, Leela avatar, Guna avatar, Shakti Avesh avatar, Manvantar, right? The avatars of Manu. Those 5. We then have the Yuga avatars. Now this is where it becomes very interesting. So it is said in the Satya Yuga, the color of the principal incarnation is white. So each of the 4 yugas that we talked about, so there is a white, and this deity is known as Hamsa. And this is given in, we won't have time today, but this is given in Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, 21 verse. The Treta Yuga, the color of the Supreme Lord is red, and this is the form of Yajna. We all know that Yajna is no different from the Lord. That's why we offer at initiation, at auspicious times, we make offerings to the Lord in his form as the Yajna, the fire, right? In the Dwarpa Yuga, the color of the Yuga avatar is blackish. So we know that this is Sri Krishna himself. But as I said before, 999 times out of 1,000, this Krishna is Dwarkadish Krishna. It is not Brajendra Nandana Gopi Janavala. We are very fortunate to have been after you know, Gopi Jana Vallabh Sri Krishna has come. And then in the Kali Yuga, the color of the principal incarnation is yellow. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is in 10.8.30 in where Garga Muni is talking about it. But there's also a very famous verse, Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam. Do people know this verse? And it finishes, Yajanti hi sumedasaha. So this verse, which is Bhagavad, everyone should learn this verse. All followers of Mahaprabhu must learn this verse, right? 11, Bhagavatam 11, 5:32. Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishna. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So again, I'll repeat that. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Who is the incarnation of Godhead who is constantly singing the name of Krishna? It is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And the confirmation is given there in Bhagavatam. So when people say that the Lord does not, because they're looking at the Das Avatar, they say, where is this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Das Avatar? No, he's not a Leela Avatar. He is a Yuga Avatar. And he's also a hidden avatar. Why? Because he doesn't proclaim himself to be the Lord. He comes as the Lord's devotee. He comes as the Lord's devotee. However, there are many instances where the Lord shows his Virat Rup. But even more than that, there is a pastime in Jagannath Puri where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Gambhira and all the devotees from Bengal have come. And at first they're singing Krishna Kirtan. And then they flip into Mahaprabhu Kirtan and they sing Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. And Mahaprabhu becomes very despondent. He's like, why are they singing my name? Jagannath is there. They should be singing Krishna's name and Jagannath's name. Why are they glorifying me? I'll just end my life now. And I think it's Advaita Acharya. The sun is streaming through the window. And Advaita Acharya puts his hand up and he tries to block the sunlight. And he says, my Lord, you trying to conceal the fact that you are the Supreme Lord is like me trying to block out the sun with my hand. So no matter what you try and do, you will not be able to conceal the fact that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna himself, but in one sense is the super excellent form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because the Lord as Vrajendra Nandana Krishna shows his pastime. But the Lord as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu allows the least qualified people access into these pastimes. You don't just get to witness it, you get to enter into these pastimes. The least qualified people. So that is why the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the super excellent form. And us as Gaur Bhaktas, we understand why. Why is this form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so special? Because Krishna has assumed the form of the Bhav of Srimati Radharani. Those two forms have now become one. Krishna and Radharani, who were separate, have now entered together in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how much more worshipable is it, the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So they are the Yuga avatars, the most important Yuga avatars, of course, the ones in Kali Yuga, the ones in Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga, which happened on the 28th Chatra Yuga of the 7th Manu, Daivashvata Manu. So that's the 6th is Yuga Avatar. 7th is the Anksha Avatar. So Ankshi means the supreme whole. And Anksha means his part and parcels. So Sri Ram is often known as the Ankshi, but his 3 brothers are the Ankshas. In fact, it's described that the Sri Vaishnavas, I haven't seen this description from Srila Prabhupada, but what the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas say is that as Narayan holds a disc, a lotus, a gadda, and a shank, actually the 3 brothers of Lord Ram, one is the Sudarshan, one is the Gadha, and one is the Padma. No, sorry, not the Sudarshan. Oh, maybe the Sudarshan. And then there's a fourth personality is the other thing. But they are non-different from the Lord, but they are not directly the Supreme Lord himself. So the Anksha of the Ankshi means they are an expansion. Like Garuda is also an Anksha. He is not Jiva Tattva. He is Narayan Tattva, but he is not considered a full expansion of the Supreme Lord, but he is an expansion of the Lord. And then finally, we get to the Ete Changsha Kalau Pungsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Pradanyanti Yuge Yuge. That all the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. See, Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Ishvara Paramam Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha Enadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all the other causes of the personality of Godhead. And so they are the 8. We've only got 4 minutes left, and I haven't even touched the verses yet, but I thought that they were important things to go through. So just to quickly, but then I think that the final point, if we've only got a minute left, is that there is one aspect of the Lord that we have not touched upon, even in these 8, and that is the form of the Lord is his holy name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give access to Sri Krishna, but the methodology has done it is through the via medium of the holy name. And Srila Prabhupada quotes the Padma Purana actually in this regard. He said in a purport, I think it's in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, if we utter the holy name of Krishna, Krishna is immediately present on our tongue. In the Padma Purana, this is Srila Prabhupada speaking, Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. So Mad Bhakta Yatra, where my devotee is, Gayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. Yatra Gayanti, where they are chanting, Tatra Tishtami, there I am, Narada. So Krishna is saying, wherever the Gayanti, the chanting of my name is, there I will certainly be. There I will certainly be. So quickly in the verses, it also mentioned that who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? No one can completely describe the prowess of Vishnu because of the 4 defects. We have 4 defects. We must commit mistakes. We must be illusion. We must have the tendency to cheat others. And most of all, we have unlimited senses. We have limited senses. We can't see so much. We can't hear so much. We can't perceive so much. We can't go across one universe. There are billions of universes. If we can't understand the creation, how would we understand the creator? It's not possible. And so anyone, and ultimately, you see, the Lord is adhokshaja. Even if you understand the full material creation, which is what it said, you understood every atom, that's fine. But that is just one part of my splendor. The Lord says, yad yad, what is it? Yad yad vibhoti mat sattvan. The Lord says, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So you can understand the whole universe, every atom. You can't understand the Lord. The Lord is way beyond this universe. And he shows that, as it says in the verse, at Trivikram, one step, and he's already showing, he's giving you access to the spiritual world. He said, effortlessly to Vikram Vaman. He crosses across the whole universe, all the planetary system, and he gives you access to the Ganga beyond. That's the Lord. How hard do the karmis have to work for their money? How hard do the jnanis have to work for their knowledge just to understand Brahman? How hard do the austerity of the yogis, standing on one leg, to understand the Paramatma in the freezing cold? But the Lord effortlessly takes you from the depths of this material creation to beyond. One step. And the Lord has come as his holy name. One step, one name, chanted in the association of pure devotees. You're gone. So it's different. It's different. The materialists, they can spend all their lifetimes. They will not even understand this universe. What to speak of somebody who is beyond this universe, the Vikram, beyond this universe. So we should understand, to understand the Lord, we have to take shelter of the Lord and the Lord's devotees, especially in the form of his holy name. And the Lord, even Krishna Das Kaviraj, trying to get it all in, says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord says, Apana madure hare apana ramana, apana apne chahe karita alingana. That Lord Krishna's sweetness is so attractive that he steals away his own mind, that even he wants to embrace himself. Krishna, his understanding can bewilder even Krishna. What to speak of a scientist? He can captivate himself. So ultimately, no scientist, no speculation. Only the Lord can give you access to the Lord. And even then, you won't have complete understanding of the Lord because he's ever sweet. And then finally, not enough time to speak about all of that. We talked about the three different energies. We can go through that, but I think we'll touch upon that final verse 41. And in this connection, that only the Lord can give you access. It's beautiful. I always found it beautiful, this image of Ananta Shesh. They say 10 and 100 heads, so 1,000 heads he's been chanting for all time. But in other descriptions, Ananta Shesh, they say he actually has unlimited hoods. So unlimited hoods for an unlimited amount of time in unlimited universes still cannot fully capture the Lord's glory. How then, just with some microscopes and some theories and a tiny little brain, of mush this big, you're going to understand the Supreme Lord? No, it's not possible. You need the Lord to understand them. So in conclusion, very important to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the faith of the devotees, for the innocent and for the naive. We know we have the 4 categories and the 3 O's by which we can understand. But ultimately, that understanding is going to come through the holy name. How many types of incarnations are there? They're unlimited, but there are 8 principal incarnations. Who can know the Lord fully? None, not even the Lord can. But out of many thousands of men, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschimam veditatvatah. Out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And out of all of those, hardly one knows me in truth. Bahunam janmana ante jnanavanmam prapatyante vasudeva sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. But after many births and births, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes. Such a great soul is very rare. So let us take this opportunity. Mahaprabhu is giving us this opportunity to understand the Supreme Lord fully by chanting his holy name, by following in the great Acharya's footsteps, such as Srila Prabhupada and his followers, such as His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami. I'll leave it there, dear devotees. Please take the time to read over this chapter and brush up on Manvantars, and you'll be able to deepen your faith in who is and isn't the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and pass it on to those who may not be in contact with Prabhupada's books. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this excellent class and really simplifying, and lots of questions that people ask us, that why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not in the Dasha Avatar if you claim that he is? And today we've got the answer, and a lot of clarifications in the Manvantars, and also that we are so fortunate to be in this time when both the avatars, Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, have recently been there. Prabhuji, maybe it is my lack of concentration, but I didn't understand Adhyoksha. Prabhuji, can you please throw a little light on that? You explained it well, but I didn't get it.
That's fine. Sorry, I was very enthused by this topic, actually. So I think maybe it was ambitious to get so much into an hour. So adhoksaja, to my understanding, means one who is beyond this adhoksaja. I'll get the official spelling. Adhoksaja. Yes. So Srila Prabhupada says, I've just found there's one definition here in Bhagavatam 3.5.18. Adhoksaja means that which transcends the limit of sense perception or sensuous experience. The Lord is transcendental to our sense experience, but reveals himself to the sincere devotee. So, I think a good example to give is, when the Lord shows the partial Virat root to the house of Kuru, when he's come as the messenger. And many people can't see him. They don't have that param drishtva, that topmost vision to be able to see the Lord. So he's beyond the perception. His true glory is beyond the perception of our mundane senses. That's what adhoksaja means. ADH, adhok, OK, SAJA. You'll see Srila Prabhupada mentions this term many times throughout his books. Adhoksaja. This pamphlet is very much perceptible, right? Mundane things are perceptible. It's mundane, the external energy, but the internal energy, the antaranga shakti. In the second verse, it talks about the three energies: internal, external, and marginal. So the internal energy is only perceivable with internal faculties, right? External energy, you can use your physical external faculties, but to perceive that, you need a different. It's like to perceive, there's so many things, like to perceive the pH of water. You can't look at it. You need some apparatus to be able to determine this is this pH and that is that pH. So in the same way, to experience something beyond the physical senses, you need proper apparatus in order to do so. I hope that clarifies. Does that clarify?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, that clarifies. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments by other devotees on this group? I see that we have two more new devotees who have joined. So thank you all for joining in. Jagdishwaran Nimai Das and Zero Looking for One. Thank you for joining this group. And we meet every day at the same time, same link. So you're welcome to join us. But we can welcome you with 3 Haribol. If you can, kindly switch on your video so that we can see you. So if we meet you on the road, at least we can say hello to you.
Haribol!
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 Thank you very much for joining in. Are there any questions or comments by other devotees? Okay. If there are no questions or comments, Panchali Mataji, are you able to end the session for today? Are you in a position? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, yes. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class, and quite agree with Kritika Mataji. It was excellent and touched upon so many various topics. So you took us through the various incarnations, different avatars of the Lord, the classifications. You talked to us about Brahma's one day of Brahma. You talked to us about, how fortunate we are to be born in this age. And you also ended with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and that lovely verse, and how we should be very, very, we should also always think about how fortunate we are and continue with our Yuga Dharma of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class and taking us through this beautiful journey of Lord Krishna and Mahaprabhu and all his various incarnations. So if I can request all the devotees to please unmute and say Haribol to glorify Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
One.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vachapatitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
His Grace Krishna Arjun Prabhuji ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
ISKCON Eldoret ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much,
Hare
Prabhuji. And
Thank
Thank
you
you very
all.
much,
See you
Prabhuji.
next week.
See you next
Thank you,
week. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.